Hello and welcome to another video on the mathematical fundamentals. So in today's video, I'm going to make a quick recap of the thing that I have learned so far as part of to mastering the essential tools like algebra, number theory, and logic. All right, and also to improve my communication skills in English as well as how can I organize my ideas in a way that is succinct and straightforward. So first we look at the generalized and how by the mathematical the value proposition of the mathematics, which is comes from the Greek word mathema. It is the that which is learned, what one gets to know, and this is something beautiful according to the etymology online dictionary. And this is something beautiful because everybody can learn to their own pace. So all roads leads to Rome, and here the mathematics is the practice of generalize a lesson, and the lesson is a problem that you face in real world. So every time you find these problems over and over and over and over and over, and over you realize that there is some pattern, and from there you can now to make a generalization using algebra. So every time you face these new problems, you can solve that quickly. And this is something interesting and powerful. Uh, I also look at a particular example of how to do that. But the more interesting part was when you look things from different perspective. So once we know that these lessons or things, problems that arise in our daily life happens over and over and over and over, and then you recognize this pattern, a powerful problem solving technique in math and in life is to change your perspective. All right. So from this pattern, all right, in the case of the mathematical fractions, how by look at the mathematical fractions less than zero, it generate a pattern called fractals. So we can visualize that using geometry. And how by looking at the patterns of mathematical fractions greater than one, how we look a pattern using geometry called compound interest. And by looking at this particular pattern, it's like how you can apply to your life to actually solve your own problems. So in my case, well, what I can do in the compound interest as well as the fractal is to try to identify which one of those problems or which one of those things that I would like to integrate in my life, relationship, wealth, as well as health. Okay, and with the compound interest, I can see what are the things that I need to dedicate for how long, and how can I keep track of that so I can get this particular outcome. So one of them is for identification, and the other is for execution. That's something beautiful because with that, then I look at how can I analyze is my own statement, especially statements when you want to identify what are the things that you want in your life. Okay, so look at your statement and the relationship between your conclusions. And here is when it comes the mathematic, the logic method, the mathematics of logic. So by looking or by thinking forward and backwards, in this case, which are just techniques here, by thinking forward means look at the statements that are true so you can understand the clue and reason about them faster. Okay? Look at the thing that you can clarify quickly, and then or look at the facts. Okay, so look at the fact, the thing that you can specify quickly, And with thinking backward is by enumerating all the possible answers and then filter it out. So this thinking forward and backward, especially when analyzing statements and conclusions, okay, the logic. Now here, when you want to apply that to your life, this is where the things getting interesting. Because whatever narrative you tell to yourself, or statement you tell to yourself, if you want to get the outcomes that you want, all right, it is important to apply this thinking forward and backwards, okay, and by looking also to your own shadow or this unconscious, the thing that you, even though that is very hard to admit, but this is something part of our human nature. So in other words, the thing with this thinking forward and backward is that the subtle difference here, the key aspect of each one of them is that when do you first focus your attention? And when you do that, you are assuming that, well, I hope I went to the right way by looking at the thinking, or by thinking forward and thinking backwards. Okay, so because of this, there are certain problems that thinking backwards are very effective, despite being hard to apply. So what we're looking at here is that this particular tool, when it comes to look at the mathematics of logic, the thinking backwards is very, very efficient to solve some problems, despite being hard to apply. And this is exactly what we did from analyzing the results to cause. Okay, this, as you can see, this look like a particular pattern here. You can now use mathematical logic to actually find the truth, find those facts that can help you to move on in your life, create the life that you want. Okay, that's interesting. It's powerful. So reasoning from results to cause, okay, which is a deductive method that Sherlock's also apply this. And in our case, we actually look at how can we apply for that. So now that we have these two toolkits, or these several kits, like the patterns, generalizations, patterns, perspective, and thinking forward and backward to analyze this statement, the mathematic logic, or in other words, is the relationship between the statement and their conclusions. And that's great, and that's fine. So here we look at this, right? Now, because we're analyzing is this particular case, the case of Romaniac, the case of pyromaniac, okay? And actually apply this thinking backwards. Sherlock, Mr. Hudson, and I went out of the desert to celebrate a recently solved game. But mischief was afoot. Mischief. This is so British, by the way. But mischief was afoot. Pero una travesura fue cometida. In Spanish. At our favorite pasticier. Nuestro favorito pastelero. So began the very brief case of the pyromaniac. So here we talk about, here's the best pasticier in all of London is a small shop on Baker's End owned by the two desert chefs, Judy and Sarah. So when Sherlock and Mr. Hudson, Mr. Hudson and Watson first arrive at the shop, Sherlock boasts what he was able to deduce five facts. Sherlock boasted, brag about it. Sherlock boasted what he was able to deduce five. Sherlock boasts that he was able to deduce five facts about the desert that then allow him to determine precisely which chef made each type of dessert. So we are assuming that their deductions are based on his infallible observation and skill. So use the five bullet fact that Sherlock observed to determine precisely which chef made each of the dessert. So based on this statement or this fact that Sherlock come out, that Sherlock brag about it, Judy made the cake. So Judy made the cake. But Judy made an even number of desserts. It can be two or four. All right. So since Sarah made more of the dessert than Judy, it means that at best, Judy must only have done is, in this case, given this condition, must have only do two and no more. All right. Sarah made more desserts than Judy. So the same chef made both the pie and the sundae. So the same chef made both the pie and the sundae. So Judy cannot make this because according to the Sherlocks, Judy make an even number of desserts. And that's great. So now this must have done by Sahara. Okay? So the same chef both, so the same chef made both the pie and the sundae. So the pie and the sundae. The pie and the fudge were not made by the same chef. So the pie and the mousse were not made by the same chef at the sundae. Okay. So the pie and the sundae was not made by the same chef. All right. So might be Judy. But the pie and the fudge were not made by the same chef. Exactly. But the pie and the fudge were not made by the same chef, leaving to mousse made by the Sarah and fudge by Sarah. But it say the same chef made both the pie and the sundae. So in other words, uh, the mouse. So the same chef made both the pie and the sundae. The pie and the sundae. So the pie and the sundae. But the pie and the fudge were not made by the same chef. But the pie and the fudge were not made by the same chef. So Judy must have done the fudge, and Sarah must have done the mouse. So given this condition here, okay, by looking at this narrative, we are not able to solve this problem here. And it might be somewhat trivial to look at it, but that's, I just want to analyze my logic here, the analytical thinking here. How is my thought process? So as you can see, Judy made the cake, but Judy made an even number of desserts. It can be two or four, but because Sarah now made more dessert than Judy, so it restrict that to two of them. So Judy can only have done two of them. All right, but the same chef made both the pie and the Sunday. So if you put it this actually is not fulfilling the condition, okay? But it says that the pie and the fudge, we can safely do this, but the pie and the fudge, but the pie and the fudge were not made by the same chef, leaving Judy and the fudge being done by leaving cake and fudge being done by Judy or made by Judy and mousse made by Sarah. This is the critical or this is the analytic thinking. And again, the main problem here was to analyze each one of those statements and to use the mathematic for that, right? So that was my pain points here. So from the way Romeo, the firefighter, regarded the Sunday, he has ordered the Sunday maker must be his beloved. She also made the pies tonight. So according to Sherlock, okay, Romeo, the firefighter, regarding Sunday, he has ordered the Sunday maker must be his beloved. She also made the pies tonight. So in the pastisserie, the evening, three order patrons share an outdoor table, a jeweler, a teacher, and the firefighter. Sherlock was listening carefully and heard them jointly discussing three events: a party, a proposal, and a competition. However, from their body language, Sherlock claims that he could tell that each event is only truly important to one of the three of them, according to the body language. Mhm. So each one of them so carefully heard to they jointly discussing three events: a party, a proposal, and a competition. So using what Sherlock observed, who is the most concerned with each discussion topic and when is the event that is important to them. Each of the event is of chief, so I will leave that right now like this. So we can now, after all, I'm gonna make a pause here and identify that our main challenge has been learn, identify, and understand English here, just like that, just like that. And there is nothing wrong with that. So the more I expose myself to this, and I do that in a consistent way, the better off will be for myself. So that'll be for this entire video. Take care. Bye bye.